Hello everyone, I'm Jim Longworth and welcome to another edition of Triad Today. Coming up later on, our infamous roundtable. We'll have a lot of things to discuss, including a tribute to Larry Womble. But once again, we come to you from the beautiful Senior Botanical Garden in Kernersville, where we hope you'll come out and social distance yourself and enjoy all the blooming flowers and shrubs. It's a great place. We'll tell you more about it later. There are a lot of things we want to talk about today, but I want to start out talking about helping children in some very specific ways. And we have a young man here who had a great vision to do just that. Let's meet him. He's a first-time visitor to the show. Logan Filon is the CEO of something called Piedmont Renewal Network. Welcome to the program.
Nice to be here. Thank you for having me.
What is the Piedmont Renewal Network and what's the mission?
So in short, the Piedmont Renewal Network exists to help lift low-income kids in the Triad out of poverty through a wraparound comprehensive program. So what we do basically is we put them through a 7-year college prep program. They get 6 to 10 extra hours of academics every single week. They get full wraparound parent support for their whole families. They get social and emotional support, all the things that you really need to succeed. And at the end of this 7-year pipeline and all this support, they make it through. They're able to go to college tuition free to most any school in Winston-Salem.
No, wow. I mean, in that answer, you've just said so many things that are so important. Obviously, you're trying to select these kids based on some criteria. I mean, there's so many kids in need. How do you figure out who you're going to help?
Yeah, so it's kind of an interesting combination. We have interviews with the families, we pass out applications, and so it's a combination of, is the family interested? From the application that we receive back, are they verifiably like low income, right? And then does the child want it? Does the child show that they have that desire to really push through and make something for themselves? And most people we talk to, that's very much the case, and so that's how we enroll.
Logan, what gave you the idea to create this network?
Actually, it came from a 2015 Harvard study that cited Winston-Salem, North Carolina, as the hardest place to escape child poverty in the United States. Now, a lot of people don't believe that when they hear it, but it is a true stat. Doesn't mean it's the deepest poverty, doesn't mean it's the worst, whatever, but it is the hardest to escape. We do have the lowest opportunity set in Winston-Salem for children who were born into that situation. So when we saw that, we were thinking, we need to create something that is comprehensive and will take massive action on behalf of people who were stuck in that situation.
You mentioned that you want to make sure the kid's on board, the child is on board, even if the parents are, maybe the child isn't. What's the importance of having that family involvement in this whole process?
It's absolutely key. I think it's probably the most central part of the program. If you think about, principals at Title I schools and things like that will say, if only we could get the parents more involved, things like that. With this program, the parents are bought into the vision. They know that tuition-free college is on the other end of it. They know that they can make a better future for their child. And so we have had, for the 3 years the program has been running now, 95% plus full attendance at our parent meetings. And we have like 13 plus per academic year. I mean, it's just really unprecedented, and it's the most powerful part of the program, I think.
And so tuition-free. Man, and it's a 7-year process. It takes a lot of planning and a lot of dreaming, and I just appreciate what you're doing. Maybe this is a stupid question, but are you partnering with various agencies, or you compete with various agencies, or how's your relationship in the community?
It's actually a very good question. First of all, our core dynamic partnerships come from the colleges with which we partner. Not only are they providing scholarships, they're providing resources, things like that, and we're partnered with almost every college in Winston-Salem. And then beyond that, other agencies that are in the area working with similar population, Crosby Scholars, Read Write Spell, different organizations like that. We try to make as many inroads as we can and partnerships, and that's something we really value.
Give me about 15 seconds on the pandemic. Has that affected your mission in any way, quickly?
Yeah, so, here in the crepuscular months of the school year, we've had to go all virtual with the instruction. But then beyond that, our real focus has been on making sure our families' needs financially, food-wise, whatever, are met. So we've been keeping in touch with them meticulously, and we'll continue to do so.
Up on screen, renewalnetwork.org is the website. Please check that out. This is just the most fantastic program I've heard of in a long time. Renewalnetwork.org is the website. And thanks to our good buddy Art Gibble, CEO of Goodwill Industries of Northwest North Carolina, who suggested this segment, good friend of Logan's and a mentor. GoodwillNWNC.org is up on screen as well. Logan, thanks for all you do. Will you come back sometime?
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
All right. Triad Today, and some weeks ago we talked about child custody issues. We want to come at this from a little bit different angle, and we're so glad we could get one of the good folks from Dummett Fraden to stop by and help us with this. On my right is Jessica Culver. She's an attorney with Dummett Fraden, Attorneys at Law. Welcome to the program.
Thanks for having me.
And to the Garden Welcome Center. Why do parents need a custody order at all anyway?
So a custody order is a court-mandated schedule for co-parents to share in regards to when they'll have physical time with their children. It can also determine decision-making abilities for major medical decisions, like whether the child will have braces, also what school the child might attend. So it's really important for a lot of families to have this very clear, concise document that tells them what should happen in regards to the minor
Because it
children.
memorializes everything that needs to be down, everybody needs to understand. Now, I'm ignorant about this. What is the difference between, I heard somebody talking about one day, legal custody versus physical custody?
So legal custody is that decision-making component. The physical custody is exactly what you might think. It's that visitation time or overnight schedule with the children. So it's the actual time you get to spend with your children.
But isn't it understood under our state law, maybe in every state, that no matter the circumstances, unless it's something severe, that any parent is going to have some physical rights to do visitation? I mean, isn't that understood or what?
So yes, judges always try to make it possible for families to have 50-50 custody when it works and when it's appropriate. They study child psychology. They study how children do later in life based on parenting styles to help them make decisions from the bench. And they've learned that a 50-50 schedule is best for children when both parents are suitable and when it's safe and appropriate.
And I'm throwing out another term because, again, I don't understand these things, but there was something I think you emailed me one day about full custody. Is that a real thing? Does that really exist?
So we see lots of clients interested in full custody. And in rare circumstances, it does exist, it is possible. But those are circumstances where either one parent has no interest in parenting, unfortunately, or one parent is incarcerated. One parent, unfortunately, has substance abuse issues that doesn't allow them to parent at all. In those circumstances, full custody for the other parent would be appropriate.
Now, I guess this is one of those myth buster questions, but I've always believed or heard that moms have an advantage over dads in custody, I shouldn't use the word battles, but in custody matters. Is that true or false?
Mythbusters indeed, because that used to be the case. In North Carolina and other states, it was called the tender years presumption, where courts presumed that the mother was more appropriate, especially in a certain age group and younger children.
Right.
That has since been abolished in North Carolina. So parents are pretty much on equal footing. There are some circumstances where the child is extremely young, and of course, then in those circumstances, maybe there are reasons why that child should be with the mother, but overall, parents are on equal footing now.
Yeah, Jessica, before we run out of time, since we are in this, everybody thinking about how the pandemic has affected our lives, how is it affecting custody schedules?
Great question. Courts are recommending that parties follow their custody order as if there were no pandemic. However, if you're in a household where someone's been exposed, someone is showing symptoms, someone has even tested positive for COVID-19, of course, then you should talk to the other parent about how you might change the schedule, and you can consult a family lawyer for help with that.
All right, I want to do something, put up on screen before we lose time here, the Dummett Fraden website, dummettfraden.com, or you can call 877-978-3218. You can get to Jessica and all the great folks over there. We have a few seconds left. Very quickly, I'll put you on the spot. We didn't rehearse this or anything. Who or what led you to a career in law?
And my previous career before law was green building. I was a green building expert.
Okay.
And then the economy tanked then. So around 2008, I started looking at other job options and decided that going to law school would open several doors. And once in law school, I determined that family law would be a good route for me because I could really work with individuals and families and make a difference in people's lives.
And you're doing that, and I appreciate you talking about it and being with us today and helping us understand more about child custody. Thanks.
Thanks for having me.
We'll be right back after this. Now on Triad Today, and I want to talk a little bit about housing as it relates to helping children and families and keeping our houses safe and healthy, especially during this pandemic. There's a lot of things we can tie this into, and I'm going to pick the brain of this gentleman here who's done so much in this arena. Stephen Sills is director of the Center for Housing and Community Studies at my alma mater, UNCG, although they don't claim me, but welcome to the program.
Thank you very much.
Tell me what the center is all about, what the mission is.
We're a community-engaged research center. We provide technical assistance to nonprofits, municipalities, county governments across the state and in other states. We're working currently in the Triad on projects around providing more fair, affordable, and healthy homes.
Right. Now, why was this created? I mean, why come up with this center?
Well, I began my work in looking at immigrants and refugees across the United States and the impact of poverty on these communities. When I came back to North Carolina in 2006, I looked around the community and asked several nonprofit directors, what are the issues that are most impactful on these communities? And they said housing. I had not researched housing up to that point. I was more interested in labor issues and educational issues. But when I started digging into the issue around housing, I found how central it is, how important it is to all other things. If you don't have a safe, healthy home, it doesn't set you up well for the rest of your life.
No, it's the underpinning to everything. Just as we talk about childhood hunger and things, you have to have nutrition to learn, and you have to have a good, healthy home environment too. I appreciate what you're doing with that. Now, how is, not to disparage other research studies or centers, how is yours different?
Yeah, ours is more community engaged. We're not focused on producing publications and reports for general scientific purposes, but more focused on community engaged work, starting at the neighborhood level with residents where they live and building up from that. We work on developing new programs and evaluating existing programs and addressing gaps in need.
Now, give me an example of maybe a past project you've worked on and any kind of impact you might have had in this arena.
Certainly. In the Cottage Grove neighborhood in East Greensboro, North Carolina, we identified a multifamily housing complex, an apartment complex where there was a hot spot of asthma cases that were linked to the environmental conditions of the apartment complex itself. Out of 177 units, this complex had 50 condemned units at that time, and over 120 visits to the emergency department or clinics at Cone Health for asthma and other respiratory illnesses. This hot spot needed addressing, and so we worked with partners across the community and with funding from the Reinvestment Fund and RWJF to address the issue, purchasing the building with a developer out of East Durham, and then leveraging social impact funding to address the environmental conditions of the complex.
You know, the good folks at Kate B. Reynolds Charitable Trust called me one day and said, you really ought to talk to Stephen. He's doing great work. So obviously there's a connection there between you and Kate B. Reynolds. What are you doing? How are you working with them to address these social determinants of health?
Yeah, we're looking at developing a program that we call our HIT team, Health Impact Team. This leverages work-study students from the university to go into neighborhoods that we know are health impacted, like the neighborhood in East Greensboro, identifying households where there may be respiratory illnesses, where there may be lead poisoning, where there may be other issues with the housing, and connecting them with services like weatherization, lead abatement, and others.
That's just great. I want to put up on screen this information, the website for the center, chcs.uncg.edu. For the radio listening audience, I'll say it again, chcs.uncg.edu. And a good shout out to everybody at the Kate B. Reynolds Charitable Trust at www.kbr.org. Please check that out. They do a lot of fine work, as does our friend Stephen Sills. And I appreciate what you are doing, and thanks for being with us.
Thank you so much.
We'll be right back after. Right, today, I am certainly no economist or expert in that area, but I can tell you right now, I bet there's no other industry that's been harder hit by the pandemic than the hotel and hospitality industry. And I have an expert with us who's very involved in this industry. He's going to help me understand some things about what's been going on and where we're headed. Next to me, first-time visitor to the show, Dana Bryson is owner of KZ Hotels and Services. Welcome.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
Very quickly before we get going, what is KZ Hotels and Services?
KZ Hotels and Services is a property management and accounting company with 3 divisions. One is hospitality management, the other is real estate and development, and the other is accounting services for other businesses.
So we'll give your website a little bit later, but I think people will be interested to know when they go to that website, you manage a lot of properties and hotels and things. I just think, and the pressure and the responsibility on you must have been really something because of this pandemic. How has the hotel and hospitality industry in your business been affected by the pandemic?
Well, I'll tell you about my 3 properties that I manage and 2 of them that I own in Forsyth County. They've been affected. They're full-service properties, which means that we offer on-site catering and dining. We also offer meetings and banquet facilities for gatherings, as well as overnight guest rooms. So as a full-service property under the stay-at-home order, no one's really traveling, gatherings are limited, and no one is really dining. So our operations are minimal and has been since about March the 9th.
Well, how are you navigating through all that?
Well, very carefully, the best that we can.
Yeah.
I think that, staying in communication and reaching out to our colleagues and talking to our industry partners and participating in conversations about the next phase and how we can be prepared, changing our standard of operations. Those are the types of conversations that we're having. How to keep our staff that are currently working, how to keep them safe, and what the next phase looks like and what the permanent phase is going to look like as far as guest expectations, and how do we deliver our product and service in the future. What is that going to look like?
Well, that leads me to, and if you look in the crystal ball or something, tell me, as everything becomes fully operational, as folks feel comfortable traveling all over and flying and driving and going to hotels, what kind of precautions are you advising your folks who have these properties, these hotels and restaurants and things? What are they going to do? Are they going to require guests to wear masks? Or is there going to be more hand washing? Are there going to be sanitizers? Do you have any idea of how things are going to change?
Yeah, the fact that they're going to change, and I believe for permanent. We haven't had an interruption in the economy due to this reason, but if you look back in history, 9/11 is one example. The changes in operation for the airports and security measures, those were permanent.
Right.
In 2008, major interruption, we see permanent changes with the Dodd-Frank Act and lending and banking industry that were permanent. My approach to our operations with my hotels and with the colleagues in our local association is we need to be having conversations about permanent changes to our best practices and procedures, and basically we're rewriting our standard of operations to, 1, meet the guest expectations, 2, important, keep our staff safe as well, and number 3, basically respond to and go the extra mile for what the DHHS, which is our Department of Health Services, are giving us guidelines.
Right, and pandemic or not, all the things you just outlined, it's been tragic what's happened, but the things you've outlined are good things. And I applaud you for hanging in there, doing what you do, getting ready for the next phase. I want to put up on screen your website because I think people will find it fascinating, kzhotels.com, kzhotels.com. And also a shout out to Rich and Marquita, the good folks at Visit Winston-Salem, who suggested that we have Dana on the program to talk about these issues, and we really appreciate all they do in helping. This has been a rough time for them too, trying to figure out things and reschedule things. Visit winstonsalem.com is the website there. Dana, thanks for everything.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
All right. We'll be right back. Triad Today, and a reminder, we're still coming to you from the Senior Botanical Garden. Although we're indoors right now, we're taping on Wednesday, the 20th of May, because it's cold and drizzly outside. But you come on outside as soon as the weather breaks and enjoy the garden, and the gift shop's open too, so do that. Also, pick up your copy of Yes Weekly. We hope you will do that as well. Now to the round table on my right, but always the political left, Ogie Overman, the great broadcaster journalist. Back behind me is Dr. Don Martin, Vice Chair Forsyth County Commissioners. He's a professor, a former school superintendent. He does everything. And of course, rounding out the group, our good buddy Keith Granberry, founder of Helping Hands Consulting. Guys, before we get to the first topic, I wanted to just mention our good friend Larry Womble, who passed away last week, a great educator, great legislator, a great activist who did many things, including getting compensation for victims of forced sterilization. Mainly he was my friend, and I miss him, and I just wanted to get your take on it. Just comment on Larry, Ogie.
I'll be brief because y'all all knew him better than I did, but I like the guy because he was an advocate for the downtrodden, the poor, the unfortunate. Not only was he an advocate, but he didn't just pay lip service. He did things. He was not afraid of taking criticism for trying to help, like the forced sterilization.
Right.
You know,
And he went
jumped
to, he left my show to go to the airport one day. I said, where are you going? He said, I'm going to Africa. He goes every year, he went every year, and he had taken like 50,000 books to kids
Yeah,
in the villages,
that's right.
and he paid for them himself.
Yeah, we need more like him.
Don Martin.
I had a wonderful occasion to work with Larry over 25 years. I did not know him as an educator. I knew he was a retired educator. But my take on him in his early years, he was very fiery. I didn't really know him that much. And then he became, I'd almost use the word consummate statesman. And his voice, I read Scott Sexton's article in the newspaper about his voice.
Unmistakable.
I remember how he talked to me, how he called me names, but I agree exactly with Ogie. He did fight for the downtrodden, and I think he hit his head against the wall about 6 years with the eugenics
Right.
payments.
Keith.
Wow.
Well, I brought him on the show to talk about eugenics, and I worked with him a lot at the Urban League. He cared not only about the downtrodden, but he cared about the city. He loved Winston-Salem. He loved his constituents. He was at every event. Any event you had in Winston-Salem, Larry Womble was there representing his district, and you cannot replace someone like that. He's just irreplaceable.
And he didn't always look for the spotlight. He would turn it on other people. Larry Womble, 78 years old, will be missed. Guys, let's have sort of a pandemic-related question. This has to do with Mitch McConnell, who I don't agree with very often, but let's say even into this fall when everything's trying to get back to the normal. But McConnell wants to pass a law that would give immunity to businesses. So say if Ogie and I walked into a Target or a Walmart or whatever, and 3 days later we came down with the virus, we can't go and sue those stores. Does that make any sense to grant immunity, have a law for that, Ogie?
Not really. I mean, I can almost see where he's coming from with that because people will try to game the system, take advantage of it. But it's just another unnecessary, taking up for big business is all it is. Protecting the big guys is all it is.
Well, it could be. Don.
Well, I think it would be hard to prove anyway, and I agree it may be unnecessary, but I do not object to that because I think that there's no way you can tell how you get the virus.
Keith.
I think it makes about much sense as him stopping Obama from electing the Supreme Court judges last year.
Yeah.
I think if you decide that you're going to go into a store, you're making that decision on your own. When you can buy stuff online, then you should not be able to sue someone if you made that decision.
So we
to go
don't
to
need
a
the
store.
law.
You don't need it.
All right. Last week, authorities in San Diego decided not to charge the man who wore a Ku Klux Klan hood into a grocery store because he told the judge, hey, it's a pandemic mask. Guys, are you okay with him getting off scot-free as a freedom of expression, or should he have been charged with a hate crime, Ogie?
I wish you could charge a guy with a hate crime. If there were a law for ignorance, maybe we should pass a law against stupidity.
Yeah.
Just showing your butt in public.
Ignorance law. Don Martin.
Well, unfortunately, hate symbols, actually, the freedom of expression protects that.
Keith.
So I don't think he should have been charged.
Keith.
Unfortunately, I don't think he should be charged, but it's a sign of the time now where people feel like they can openly wear symbols of hate right now, and I think that's something that needs to change.
Many health experts are saying that we'll never get back to an old normal, and they're saying the practice of, because of social distancing, that handshaking may become obsolete. Ogie, what do you think?
I've thought about that, Jim. I hope not. That just really depresses me if we don't go back to hugging and handshaking. And I'm a tactile guy. I'm a huggy, feely guy, and I think over time we'll get back to the normal.
Don Martin.
I've had that same thought, and I hope we will, and I think we will, but I've also thought that the Japanese bow is a very kind of courtesy and very kind of way to start a greeting that is good, and is certainly a social distancing one.
Yeah, I bow to Keith all the time. That's right. I don't shake
as
him.
well as you should.
That's right.
That's right.
So what do you
That's
think, Keith? Is the handshake gone forever?
I don't think it's gone forever. I think that people still do handshake now if they feel like they're familiar with somebody. I've seen them doing it even now. I think one of the main things is making sure that you sanitize your hands, but I don't think it's gone forever.
All right, finally, guys, it was recently revealed that graham crackers were invented by a preacher who believed that eating the cracker would curb sexual desires. This is true. Guys, do you eat a lot of graham crackers, Ogie? What are you laughing at, Don? Ogie, do you eat?
True. Honestly, I never liked graham crackers at all. I'm not just
So
saying
we know
that.
what
I
you're
just
saying.
don't.
Don, do you eat a lot
You
of
can
graham
infer
crackers?
from that what you want.
Actually, I like graham crackers, but now with this evidence, I have to back off.
Keith, do you? They say that it curbs sexual desire. Do you eat a lot of graham crackers, Keith?
I have never even seen a graham cracker. I don't even know what is a graham cracker?
Yeah, Keith is a member of the Liars Club. It's anyway. That's all the time we have. Except for this, the legislature in Utah has now decriminalized bigamy so that men can go out and marry as many women as they want without being charged with a felony. Now, in a related story, Mormon women are now feeding their husbands lots of graham crackers. See how that weaves into the
Right in, yeah.
For all of us here, Triad Today, I'm Jim Longworth. We'll see you next.